Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, my chat is not loading. Don't know what's wrong. Okay, I waited for some students to join. So now I'm going to start. Okay. Okay, so chapter 7 is the final chapter. Okay, so we're going to cover the last chapter today. I don't want to have two classes on the same day because next week we won't have any lecture by right because it's a public holiday, right? But I thought of having the revision class in the final week so that can be help for what do you call that for final exam. So at least one class next week by next week. So I'll try to arrange the date and time. So we'll do one class next week. So today I'm just having the replacement class. Today's this morning class I will do next week. Just treat it as a replacement class. Okay, or revision class. So we'll do it next week. Okay, how many students are here? Let me see. How many students? I don't see the number of students. Wait. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Okay, good. Okay, let's start chapter 7. The last chapter for SRE. Okay, for your information, we already covered the four important phases, right? Requirement elicitation, requirement evaluation, requirement what do you call that? Specification and documentation, and finally requirement validation and verification. So now we are moving, okay, with the changes, requirement change. So you know, right? To understand change management and impact of changes, concept of traceability. Yeah, what is traceability? Very important. Traceability, then to understand measurement metrics, okay, so some metrics and tools. Metrics and tools also important, but not really as important as the other two topics. Okay. Okay, you look at this one. So we already cover all the basic four phases. Today we're going to look at, can these phases be repeated? Okay, yes, it's a cycle. As I always tell you, this is a cycle. It can be repeated due to requirement changes. When there are changes, when your client come back to you, while you are still developing, while you are still writing the requirement, or while you are still doing the project, if the customers come back to you, the client come back to you, to make some changes, that can cause this whole process repeated, can cause a loop. So that's why this is what do you call that, requirement evolution techniques. As you can see, we call it as chapter 7, where there is a change or there are changes, okay, due to a few factors. What are the factors? I will show you shortly. So there are some factors which can cause changes to the project. That changes can make this whole thing repeated again. Okay, you can go through this four activities again and again. Okay, so now let's look at change management. So what are the things can cause the changes, how the changes happen, and so on. Okay, first, why do requirement change? Why requirement change? You can just say that, wow, we have spent a lot of time finalizing the requirement. We've spent time on gathering the requirement, evaluating the requirement, specifying and documenting the requirement, finally validating and verifying the requirement. Then why are the requirements still change? Okay, these are the reason. Business. Okay. Recently, have you seen after COVID, most of the companies, right? The companies have been bought by another company. For example, when they are not doing really good or they are doing very good, usually another company, like big companies, will be buying the small companies. Okay, so that can cause changes in the business strategies, business goal, mission, and vision. So when all these changes happen, ongoing software, okay, projects will be also what do you call that, go through changes. So when recently one of my neighbor, okay, she was working with one of quite well known software company. So what happened, her she lost her job actually when another big company bought the company. They downsized the company by terminating many staffs, and then they changed the company name, they changed everything, like totally all went through changes. So all their systems, everything adapt to the changes. You know what happened, they currently softwares that they are using for their what do you call that, operations and so on, currently they have changed to their because it's a quite big company, the one bought the company is quite big company, so they want to standardize. So they used all their existing products. So what happened, all the current ongoing projects have been changed, quite went through big major changes. So another example, my sister actually, she was working with have you heard about Castream? Castream, you can go and Google. Castream was quite popular before, even before COVID happened. Castream was very popular. for this healthcare system. You know, healthcare system, right? Like MRI and so on, or whatever health related system. What happened? This, have you heard about Philips before? Have you heard Philips before? Philips, quite popular. When I say Philips, what comes to your mind? For me, light bulb. They are very popular for light. Since I was young, they are quite popular for bulb. But you know what? They have so many other products, okay, software products especially. So I didn't know until my sister joined the company. You know what happened? This Philips actually bought the company, Carestream, only the healthcare part. They didn't buy the whole company, but they just bought that healthcare department because after COVID, they noticed healthcare got good future and healthcare product from this cash stream very demanding in market because their product is quite quality, up to quality. So what happened? This Philips bought the cash stream healthcare department. So what happened? All their system, their HR system, especially because I know because my sister was working there. So their HR system, their leave application, a lot of like softwares that they were using for their what do you call that? Their business have gone through a lot of changes. So this is an example. Okay, so business change can cause change in what do you call that? Can cause change in the system. Context, the environment. Like last time we were having all physical, what do you call it? Physical classes. You see what happened now? Now last time we have never had any online classes, not allowed, and we have never tried online classes in Ta. But what happened after the COVID? You see the context change from what do you call that? Uh, physical class we have been doing on we are doing actually online classes nowadays. So what kind of changes can happen to software? For example, have you seen the meets, Google Meet, or what do you call that, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, or whatever software meeting application, meeting application or meeting software before COVID, after COVID? Have you seen this too? Lot of differences, a lot of changes. Why? Because before COVID, the context was different. After COVID, the context changed to online. So what happened? All those applications went through a lot of changes, and they are actually supporting online business, online meetings, online now, whatever. Okay, so they have gone through a lot of changes. So the context also can cause change, environment. Okay, technologies. Technology is growing from from like second to second. Not even minute, second to second, like so fast. Technologies are changing, growing. So what happened? This technology, for example, now software is developed like current product you are planning to develop using current, let's say, current platform version 1, just an example. Tomorrow when there's a new version is released, you can't say I'm just going to continue my project with the same version 1. You have to adapt to the latest version, so your software automatically, your project will go through the changes. Market change, yeah, people's expectation, people's trend of buying. This market always change, because people are changing, everything is changing, so we have to change according to the market as well. So the software also will go through the changes. So these are the reason why nowadays software go through a lot of changes. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Requirement changes must be managed. Okay, yeah, as you can see here, the problem world keeps changing. So I have actually, whatever I've explained just now, you can see over here. Okay, so that can trigger new software requirement engineering cycle. New cycle means all the processes or 4 activities will be repeated again. Okay, clear, right? What I mean is, this whatever I was explaining just now can trigger new cycle. New cycle means go through this 4 activities again. Okay, let's continue. Concerned with the procedures and process and standard which are used to manage changes to a system requirement. Okay, change management policies may cover all this. Okay, all this change management. Okay, for example, when there is a change, right, what other things need to be done when you are actually, as a developer, you are developing a software, right? Your client is actually requesting for a change. So what are the activities or what are the procedures that they have to go through? Okay, so first the change request process and information required to process each change request. The process used to analyze the impact and cause change associated with traceability information. The membership of the body formally consider change requests. And finally, the software support if there is any change control process. Okay, so usually, right, Change request has a status like proposed, rejected, accepted, included. Okay, now maybe you ask, you miss client want a system. Client request for the change. Can the change be rejected? Anyone? Anyone here? Can you tell me one reason why the change can be rejected? Anyone? How come the change can be rejected? Anyone wants to give a try? Anyone is typing because I'm not able to see my chat. I don't know what is wrong with the chat. Okay, let me try to stop sharing and share again. Maybe, yeah, let me see. Yeah, I click again. Yeah, it's loading. Don't know what's wrong. So now let's try to share again. Yeah, I still don't see the chat. Don't know what's wrong. Okay, anyone typing? Anyone's typing? No. Anyone sharing the answer in the chat? Why a change request by client can be rejected by the development team? Why? Any reason?
Low benefit.
Yeah, sometimes the change, the request change due to like technology change or whatever change. You as a developer, you need to analyze the change, see whether the change is acceptable, appropriate, up to the allowable cost, within the can still deliver the system as you plan, or it going to cause major changes which is not worth. So that's why due to all those factors you can still reject. If you find the cost going to be very very high, it's going to increase drastically when the change is performed, but it is not worth, then you can reject. You can always reject. Okay, good. Okay, now proceed. So change management process summary, these are the three activities usually you will carry out in order to manage a change. When the client requests for a change, what do you do? Problem analysis and change specification. You prepare the change details. Just like your requirement, there are new requirements coming in, right? You need to prepare a simple specification. All this we have templates. Then you analyze the change and cost. This is where you investigate, you analyze, you evaluate whether the change is necessary, really needed. Then you, if everything is fine, then the change will be implemented. Okay. So now change management process, as I said, the problem is identified, the proposed changes are analyzed, and the change is implemented. Okay. So as you can see here, okay, next, what do you have in a change request form? Last time, I still remember my company, when I was working as system engineer, I just newly joined the company. I'm talking about my first job. Okay. So what happened, I was working as a system engineer. Okay. And I had a senior engineer who was like, handling the project. And then they are planning to pass over the project to me because I guess he already resigned by the time I joined. So that's why they put me under him, and I was learning everything from him so that within 3 months I can take over the project. But then I already started when he was still there. Already started doing some programming, like make changes. I started with changes. So what happened? The current system that being supported by our company, especially that senior engineer, actually requested the client requested, it's mbank actually. They requested for a change, a small change, very simple change. They just wanted to add one because they were like, they had a lot of banking system and insurance system. So we were supporting insurance system. So this client came to our company and request to change, where they actually all the while they were supporting vehicle, what do you call that, insurance policy management. So the agent, they have a system for agents, all the agents all around Malaysia will be using the system to register new policy for clients. So what happened, all the while they were supporting certain number of vehicles, they wanted to add new vehicles which are usually used for construction, like crane. I remember one or two of them, like crane, big trailer and all that. So all the while their products do not include this, but now they want to include this too to the list. It was a very small change for the it was my first what do you call that, first task given, and it was small change, such a small change. I took about 1 week just to study the document because I need to know how the system works. I newly joined the company. I was given this I think in my second week. So they asked me to go through all the documents, especially the system current systems document. Asked me to study how the system works, what are the functions there, how the codes are written, what are the file name, where's the location. They asked me to understand everything. They gave me two or three RAID folders. So I went through everything. Then you know what they did? They asked me to. Then they brought me to the meeting. Okay, when the meeting was going on, they asked me to take down all the important part, and then they told me you have to take over this change. You have to fully implement the change. It's a small change. Let's start with that. So what happened? I handled the change. So it only took me 1 week. Of course, I took 1 week to study because I don't know anything about the system. It's like quite old system that time. Like 8 years or 9 years. The system age. So I was like handling. I was studying the system for 1 week, about 1 week, like Monday to Friday. Then the following week, within 1 day, I managed to find the function. I added the vehicle. I have changed the functions. I have added the function for new vehicles calculation, policy premium calculation and all that. And then I have modified the UI by adding these two vehicles or whatever inside. I took like a few hours to complete. Just one, you see, this programming part I took very little time to do because I took 1 week just to study the document and everything, to understand first, to find all the files respective, because if you want to make a change, right? Okay, well, you are given a change request. So this is the change. When you get a change request, a current system got like sometimes hundreds of files. You need to find where is the UI, which UI is what do you call the related, where is the corresponding function coding, which file, which code file I need to modify. You need to find the user manual. You have to update every single thing, not only just the code. You need to go and modify the UI. You have to modify the design file. You need to modify the requirement file. You need to modify every single document relevant or related to this change. So it took 1 week for me to study that. And then within 1 day, I managed to perform the change. Then you know how much my company charge for that particular one small change which performed by me? 8K, I think. 8,000. Just that small thing, which I did it within a few hours. But of course, I spent 1 week to study about the system and everything. That time, how long ago? My first job, about your age, 23 years old. Okay, now 41 already. Wow. So 18 years back. 18 years back, it was 8K just to perform a small change on the system. You can, if you go and look for the source file, you can still see the changes. It's written there, modified by Miss Anu, blah blah, which date and everything. Okay, so this is how the change is performed. You have to modify every single thing. It's not just a code. Okay, just to let you know. So the change request form, I saw the change request form. That's why I know how much they charged. Okay, the company. So the change request form usually will be prepared when you are requesting for a change. The client will when request for a change, our side, our company will send the change request form to the client to fill up. So they will fill up some details, then we will evaluate and we will fill in the others. Okay, so usually a change request form will have date, customer, requester, product, including version, description of change, fields, signature, status, and comment. All these things. Okay, I give you, give me 1 minute. I don't know how good is my network today. I try to find a sample to show you. Okay, change request form. There are so many for different templates, but at the end, you see all the forms will have the same basic things. There are so many. It depends on the different companies, different types of products. They will have slight difference, but more or less the same. Okay, let's visit this site. Okay, let me share this. Okay, now I try to share this with you. Yeah, free change request form template. It's given here. Okay, change request form. Example, change request form. Okay, wait. This one nicer. Software change request form. Okay, let me show you this one. Again, there are so many templates available. The one I'm showing, just a template which I just Googled. So it depends on the company. They have their own format. Okay, let me stop sharing this one and I share the change request form for you to have a look. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, software change request form. Can you see that? Okay, that's the software change request form. So you see the change statement. You see, same like what I've written in my lecture notes. Exactly the same. Maybe might have some extra information or something less. Okay, but almost the same. Okay, request priority, change type. Okay, then all these details. Then the project management team will approve. Our manager, project manager, who knows better about the project, always will listen to the team lead. Okay, and finalize whether the change is accepted or rejected or more info is requested. Can you see that? This is how change request form look like. At the end, when you build them, right, do the building, you will attach with this change request form. So that's how I come to see the change request cost quite a lot that point of time. Okay, wait, I try to get back to the lecture notes. Okay, so now let's continue. So this is how the change request flow. Okay, first when you request, I mean the customers or client request for the change, it will be going through validity. They will validate, see whether it is valid or not. If valid, go to the next stage. Otherwise, reject. So if valid, what happened? They will find directly affected requirement. Yes, your job. You can't straight away jump into the code. You need to find all the requirements that affected. Okay, it won't just affect one requirement all the time. It will affect more than one requirement. Sometimes very little, sometimes a lot of requirement. That's why the change can be so costly sometimes. Okay, then find the dependent requirements. Okay, so after you find all the requirement affected, you see this requirement depending on other requirements or not. These are the requirement directly influenced by the change, but this whichever requirement influenced by the change got dependent. So the dependent also will be affected later. So you need to find the dependent requirement and finally propose the requirement change, and you can assess the cost. Sometimes here until here it's fine. The change is needed, really needed. You find the change is appropriate, but you find the cost is like not worth, too expensive for slight change. Then you can still reject. Okay. So after assess the cost, assess cost the acceptability. So you can still reject, you can still accept. Okay, depends on whether it's worth or not. Depends on the decision of the project management or project manager or project management lead, or depends on the client also. Depends on all this VIPs who make decision on the project. Okay, so any questions so far? Any question? You guys have questions, so I'm not able to see because of my chat. I don't know what's wrong. Let me see. I can see the student name list, but I cannot see the chat. I don't know what's wrong. You guys can hear me clearly, right? I cannot be network issue. Don't know why.
Yes, can.
Can,
Tomorrow.
thank you. But I don't know why this chat is not loading. So if anyone type anything, I'm not able to read. Okay, never mind. We proceed now. Oh, if you have questions, just unmute and ask. Okay. I hope so far no issue, right? You know what? This change, right? After I completed, right? I completed within 1 day, but I was like so excited to do. I love programming at that point of time, even until now. But then you know what? The worst part, when when I completed the change, my senior engineer told me you have to go and implement the what change, like to the server. Oh my goodness, that feeling I tell you until now unforgettable. The system was live, all over the Malaysia. So many, M assurance code, how many agents, right? So more, all of them were using the system. So you know what I have to do? They had three server. I went to the server center. It's like entering something which is very private and like very high security, secured place. Their servers are nowadays data is more expensive than anything else. So what happened? They had three levels of security. So first I need to show my ID card to enter the premise. Somewhere in Damansara, my senior brought me somewhere in Damansara, and they requested me to implement the change on Saturday because they believe Saturday less transaction, so it won't cause many havoc. Okay, so they asked me to go on Saturday, so I went on Saturday, and then early morning Saturday I work half day, so I went. Then I entered. Then I went to the third level. They collected my IC. Then they gave me another access card to go into the level of the server. It was like quite high. I think 9th floor or 10th floor. Then when I reached that level, what I need to use that access card to get in. When I get in, the temperature was so cold because all the servers were there. All the M banks, if I good enough to hack, then I can even all the systems servers belong to that company were kept there. So I entered. Then my senior was, thank God, my senior was there, but he asked me to do everything. So I went to the server room. Okay, I looked for the server number given. So there were three servers. One is backup. The other one was something also backup, and then one was running live. So now from the live, okay, I need to switch to the backup, and I have to implement the changes to the live one. After completing, I need to test. I need to do some testing. If everything is fine, then I switch back so that the agent can see the changes. So I was like so panicked. First job, very young, no experience, nothing, and I was given this. So I had like nearly had a heart attack. So scared. So I still remember that was very great experience. So that I remembered of that every time when I teach this part. Okay, so that's good experience actually. Okay, so now let's continue with change management tools support. You can always use tools to support your changes. Electronic change request form. Nowadays, no more physical form. My time, actually, it was a printed form. Now, no more printed form. Now, I notice most of the companies I visit nowadays, they are using electronic change request. No more anything. Even your assignment, all the submissions are online. Everything is soft copy. A database to store all the, yeah, my company last time, the one I was working, was quite my first job was quite systematic. They actually had a database to store all the requests, all their systems changes, details and everything, so systematically. Okay, easier for you to go and find the details or find the affected files or relevant forms or documents or whatever. A change model which may instantiated, so people responsible for one stage of the process know who is responsible for the next stage. You can pass over, so they have access to the database, and you can pass over after you're done with your part. You can just over to them. They will be taking over and continuing. Electronic transfer, electronic signature, discussion forums and so on. All these are tools that can be used when you're performing changes. Okay, impact of requirement change. Okay, so requirement changing towards the end of the development without any impact assessment. Okay, tell me, it's good to change towards the end or not? Which one is better? Changing towards the end of development, good or not? You almost release the system. You are almost release the system. They haven't even start using the system, but already got changed. So it can change without any impact. So what happened? Unmatched, outdated requirements, specific causing confusion and unnecessary rework. This always happen when the changes are not clear, not documented. Then when you see you have done everything, you are like almost release your product, your hard work. The time you release the product, what happened? People come and request for change. So they're not going to use your system. They want the system to go through changes before they can accept. Time spent on the coding, writing test cases, documentation, all just wasted, because you have written all this for no reason, because no longer exists. You're not going to use it. It's going to change, going to be changed. So that's the impact. Okay. Okay, now second very important topic, very important topic. Take down, very important topic, traceability. Okay, what is traceability? Okay, traceability, like I told you just now, when I was given a project, it's a very small change, very simple change, which I can just do within a few hours. But imagine, to do the changes, I spent 1 week to study. What did I study? According to my scenario just now, what are the things I need to study? Okay, this is the change. So this change affect which requirement? Start with the requirement. Which requirement? I need to go and find the document. Which part is changing? I need to find, based on the requirement, which design will be changing. Which design part will be changing? I need to find which source code I need to go and touch. Which source code I need to go and make an amendment. After that, which test cases are involved? Because the code has been changed now. So I need to go through, repeat the test maybe. Or I need to modify the test case. Which test case need to be changed? All this called traceability. You can't just simply do this. Do this. You need to trace from the beginning. How to do the traceability? Okay. So find the link. A link or relationship defined between the entities. So now I directly go to the point. Okay, first the requirement is traceable. If you can discover who suggested the requirement, why the requirement exists, what requirement are related to it, and how this requirement relate to other information such as design, implementation and documentation, user manual or user documentation. Okay, so now benefit of traceability. Why traceability is important? Prevent losing knowledge. Yeah, if like today I make some changes, I don't have proper traceability management. In future, when I resign and I go away from the company, someone is taking over the project. You know what? Lot of changes have been made. The first version documentation is there, but there are a lot of changes have been made from the first version to the current version, and there's no information about it for this guy or this lady to continue. So when that's why prevent losing knowledge. We want the knowledge of all the changes that have been done to the system. So every time when the system go through the changes, we have to document so that the traceability. Okay, you can trace back what are the changes. Okay, version 1 to version 2, what are the changes have been made. Version 2 to version 3, what are the changes have been made. So you can keep tracing all this. Okay, impact analysis. What kind of impact caused by these changes. Okay, so need traceability. Support the verification process, certification, all this verification, change control. Yeah, sometimes when it's going through too much of change, we can still control if we have proper traceability. Okay, process monitoring. Yes, if there is any link missing, so you have to see, okay, when I get the requirement change request, right, what I did, I check whether I have the link with the requirements, other requirements or not. Can I find the linked design document or not? Can I find the specific source code that can be affected by this or not? So all this link very important. Improve software quality, make changes correctly and completely. Obviously we want the changes to be done at the correct place, correct document. Okay, re-engineering. Define traceability link is in a way to record reverse engineering. Yeah, you know what is re-engineering or not? Re-engineering, and one of the process under re-engineering is reverse engineering. So reverse engineering means when you don't have proper documentation in your company, what do? You study the existing source code and you try to come up with the document from the source code. Okay, so traceability is important because from the source code you can trace back to the design. From the design you can trace back to the requirement. So you can come up with the requirement documents using reverse engineering. Okay, then reuse. Yeah, if you plan to reuse some of the component or modules in your other projects, it is very, very, very important for you to identify, okay, which requirement affect which design, where's the respective code. To understand this requirement, where's the design document. To understand this design, where's the source code. You need traceability. Traceability will help you to trace to other parts. And risk reduction. Yeah, always when something goes wrong, this traceability can help to reduce the risk. Okay, clear or not? Okay, what are the difficulty to maintain or to have a good traceability? Various stakeholder require different information. Yeah, always. And people, when involve people, different, right? Obviously, very difficult. Huge amount of requirements. Huge amount of requirements are very difficult to trace. Manual creation of link is very demanding. Yeah, tools are very expensive. Sometimes tools are very expensive. Sometimes when you go for small companies got no access to tool, they don't subscribe. Very, very expensive traceability tools. There are, but very few companies are using traceability tools and requirement engineering tools in Malaysia. Okay, very few because it's like very, very expensive. For small projects or small companies are not worth. Okay, so manual creation of the link is not easy to manage, very difficult. You have to use like Excel or spreadsheet to manage all this what do you call that, the link. Okay, specialized tool must be used. Yeah, as I said, very expensive. Integrating a heterogeneous model. You know what is heterogeneous model? Heterogeneous model means from requirement you need to find where is the source code. From requirement, if I know this is requirement R5, I need to know R5 belongs to, or where's the design document or design files of R5. I need to know where's the source code for R5. That kind of traceability is called heterogeneous because they are different types. Homogeneous means same type. Requirement and requirement. Between a requirement, the link between requirement and requirement is homogeneous. The link between requirement and source code, requirement and test case, requirement and documentation, heterogeneous. Okay, or requires organization commitment with an understanding of potential benefit. Yeah, you need your organization to support you to do this. Okay, we have two types of traceability, very important. Source code, okay, source to target is always forward. From where the requirement come, or the requirement to all the other parts, we call forward because you are moving forward. Requirement comes first one. So requirements are always treated as source and all the other parts are target. So when you are trying to trace from requirements to other parts, it is forward traceability. When you go backward, you have the, like I told you, reverse engineering. You have the source code, you don't have the requirement. So you want to find this source code, where's the requirement? You go backward, right? So that is called backward traceability. Forward and backward. So now from source code, you try to find the design, then you try to find the requirement, then you find the objective and requirement document, means backward. From the objective and requirement, you try to find the design and source code and whatever, it is forward. Okay, so backward traceability to previous stages, forward traceability to the upcoming stages. Okay, depends upon each element explicitly referencing its source. Yeah, backward lah, right? So source, go back to the requirement. This one from requirement, move forward. So depends upon what you call that, each element in the document having a unique name. Yeah, usually will have a unique ID to trace easily. That's why when you create use case model or whatever, I ask you to go for ID. ID is very, very important. Okay, what is forward traceability? Forward to traceability and forward from traceability. Now, you know, forward means moving forward from requirement, go to the design, or requirement, go to the test case or whatever, source code or whatever. But now got two types, to traceability, forward from traceability. So forward to, you see the word to, right? Forward to. So your preceded document to requirement document. To always after the word, you put your requirement there. After this word, you put your requirements. So you can remember easily. Like myself, right? I remember like this, requirements. So what you read, how you read this? Forward to requirement. So from what you go to the requirement. So all the documents before the requirement document. So the plan, okay, this is what do you call that, the preceded document, like mission, vision of the company overview, the current system, are all this preceded document to the requirement document. Same thing here. Forward from requirement. Forward from requirement. From requirement. So requirement, from requirement means from the requirement go to the next level, next stage. So after requirement, what are the next document you prepare, or next what do you call that material? It will be design, source code, test case, all those, user manual. So you just put the word requirement after this term, forward from or forward to, then you will get some picture. Forward from means from requirement. So from requirement, go where? From requirement. So go where? The next stage. Okay, this one, forward to requirement. So what is before the requirement? All the mission, vision, all the preceded documents. Can you understand how to remember this? Same thing goes to backward from. So backward to, put requirement here, backward to requirement. So before requirement, all the see from what? Okay, can you see here? Okay, backward, not forward, I'm backward. So backward to requirement means, you can see here, backward to requirement. So from what? Okay, backward to requirement, go to requirement. So what is at the back of the requirement? Design, test case, source code, to requirement. Backward, forward is different. Backward means you are coming from backward to requirement. So you need to change the direction. So from back, you are coming to the requirement. So what is after the requirement? Design, test case, and all those things. Okay, backward from requirement. Backward, coming backward from requirement. So requirement is at the back. You are going backward. So what is before requirement? The stakeholders or whatever. So you need to come up with all the stakeholders, all the preceded documents. Okay, so backward from requirement. So from requirement, you are going backward. So requirement is at the back now. You are going to the frontward, because backward one. So we are going to what now? So the preceded document. So need to remember, you need, like when you are given this kind of question, you need to understand, because very difficult to remember. If you memorize exactly, okay, but not really good, better to understand. So backward to requirement, backward from requirement. Then you can come up with the explanation. Okay. So requirement, type of traceability, requirement trace to source traceability, requirement trace to rational, requirement trace to requirement and requirement. One requirement, dependent requirement. Okay. Requirement to architecture, requirement to design, requirement to source code, requirement to interface, requirement to features or functions, requirement to test, requirement to code is source code. Okay, all this, see how many different traceabilities are there? All these are important. Okay, now example. Okay, so traceability table looks something like this. Okay, so your requirement, you have the ID. This requirement, where's the respective functional requirement? So this is the functional requirement, the name of the function. Then design element. Okay, where's the design file? What is the name of the design file? What is the code module? Now the real functions name. The definition of the function. And finally, what are the test case ID? So the test case ID. See, so easy, right? If you have something like this, in future your client come and then say, hey, I want to change my requirement. I want this to be changed. So you just need to study and find out, oh, okay, requirement UC 29 is changing. So when requirement 29 is changing, all these are the files going to be affected. 29, oh, this is a functional requirement. This is the design. This is the code. That's how it works, okay? So this is called traceability metrics. So you can write all the requirements and see when one requirement is affected, what are the other requirement of also will be affected. Always the dependent requirement, all the dependent requirements. So when R1, what are the requirement affected? R3 and R4 like this. R1, the dependents are R3 and R4. So when R1 is affected, R3 and R4 will be affected also as well. Okay, so that's how you study. Okay, that's traceability metrics. Okay, this is actually a same thing. This is in matrix form, and this is more on tree type. Okay, so feature diagram, we call it as feature diagram. So it works in the same way. Okay, so here I just explain slightly. You have or and. Okay, this is same like a tree diagram, like decision table. Okay, same. So you can have or and then you can see the link, okay, from the higher level to the lower level. Okay, that one you can skip. I don't really ask, okay, because what do you call that? This is like, another topic. If you want to go into this, it can be like, more complicated. So we have no time to go very detail into this. So I usually will just explain the basic. You can just go and look for feature diagram. You'll understand better by looking at more examples, okay? Okay, now let's, traceability planning. How do you plan for traceability? When you want to implement traceability, you need to have all these questions and you need to find the answer for all this. Planning traceability, yes. Who are the stakeholders involved? What are the needs? Definition of the link attributes, the process, the representations, and so on. So when you find answer for all this, that's how you start with the planning. Okay, now all the steps are in the traceability. First, define the policy. Which policy, which kind of traceability you want to implement. There are so many traceability policy. So you need to define first. Establish the link. Now create the link. Establish here is like creating the link. Okay, now exploit the link. Go assess and evaluate in detail. Then finally you will maintain the traceability link. So this is like initially create the link, and this one like go at once. Go at once and then finally maintain the link. And this can be repeated. You know why? Because changes are there always. So when changes happen, it will be repeated. Okay. Any question on the traceability? Class, please pay attention. Traceability is another very, very important topic. Okay, any part of traceability can become one of the hot topic in final exam. Okay, so remember, traceability is one of the favorite final year question. Okay. Okay, now measurement metrics and scalability. Okay, now measurement metrics. We have two types of metrics. One is project metrics and the other one is quality metrics. Okay, there are two categories. You know what is metrics, right? Who can explain what is measurement metrics? So everything can be just said in sentence or words or whatever, but how can I prove it? So I need some data. How do I collect the data? Then how do I what do you call determine whether it is like positive or negative or whatever. So I need to measure. When I do measurement, I need metrics. Metrics like formulas or like strategies for me to measure and show. So here, project metrics. How do you measure the project? So now you started with the requirement engineering, right? How do you know whether this project is going on track or not? This project up to the quality or not, expected quality or not? That is project metrics, where you have to use the metrics to determine whether the projects are on track or not. For example, you want to measure the productivity, whether the project is going smoothly or not. So you need to calculate and find out, okay, what is the completeness of the project? What is the current project status? Can you deliver the project on time or not? Coverage, how much have been covered so far in the project? How much have been completed in the project? This is an example of project metrics. Okay, project metrics. So quality metrics, more on quality. So provide information on the quality of the various project product. Now, various product. For example, used to measure the quality requirement or quality of the requirement artifact, but do not necessarily convey information about the project progress or productivity. Progress and project productivity is more on what progress and productivity more on what? More on project metrics. When you want to know how's the quality of the what do you call that, any part of your product, product document, product requirements, product design, those things are quality. So this is for example, derivation, all requirements are traceable back to the stakeholder request. When every time when there is what do you call that, a change or whatever, can we trace back all the requirement to their respective design, source code, test case? Then you can calculate out of 100 requirement, how many requirement I can trace back, how many requirement I'm not able to trace back. Then you can calculate the percentage of traceability. Okay, and that is metrics. Requirement quality, how to know whether the quality is good or not. Requirement quality, so you know, right? We validate the requirement using validation or verification techniques, right? Inspection, review. So after completing the document SRS, when you go let the document go for validation verification, out of 100 requirement, you can check how many requirement first review pass, no change. So you can even calculate the percentage of pass first review. That's how you calculate. What is scalability? What is scalability? Scalability, how, that's why I said your project, right? When you propose a title, for example, your FYP, right? Usually they will see whether your project scalability is appropriate or not, the scope. If it's too simple for one student, degree level, up to your level, degree level, it's a good idea, but very simple, very difficult to score A. The scalability, it covers how many requirements. Okay, so that's at the end remain same. No, always when you start less features, but by the time you complete evaluation, analysis of requirement and everything, it will always grow. I just want to say that it will always grow, but make sure it doesn't go more than what do you call that, like a certain level. Okay, sometimes that can cause project resource problem. Okay, finally, last topic, requirement management tools. Okay, there are so many requirement management tools available. You guys are using what tool? Word processor to prepare the SRS. So this is one of the tool. Spreadsheet for the traceability. Usually we use this. Industrial strength. We have what do you call the requirement management tool available, but very expensive, because something which is like very rare, not many. When you have a meeting tool for the first time, it will be very expensive. When now people create more and more meeting tools, what happened? The price will drop. Same. Requirement engineering tools are very limited, so the price is still quite expensive. Internal tools, we have open source requirement engineering tool or requirement management tool. But the thing is, open source are a lot of limitations. Bug tracking tools, this is for testing. Collaboration tools, prototyping tools to validate, verify requirement or to elicit requirement. Modeling tool is to analyze requirements such as use case or UML drawings, and all that comes under modeling tools. Okay, using I mean they will be used during requirement analysis. Okay, so here I have some example of tools. Like when you, what do you call that? There are few types of tools, and what are their capabilities? So management requirement now, manage requirement management tool, what they can do? Capturing requirement, what they can do? Access tool help, what can they do? Trace requirement, what can they do? And finally, output the requirement, what can they do? So the overall thing is called requirement management tool. This is you need to understand, but not really important. Okay. Okay, so this is the architecture basically of requirement management tool. It will have a requirement database, obviously. Artificial intelligence is very really needed, because when there are a lot of mistakes, nowadays automated, right? When requirements are there, when you are trying to change one requirement, automatically the AI part will detect what are the dependent requirement and can let you know You change this requirement, all this requirement need to be updated. That's why we have that. Okay. Then we have VP linker, WP linker, and then we have converter. Okay, this one convert to the technical way of storing the requirement. This is change control. See, not bad. This is high advanced. Okay, requirement browser where you need to browse and access the system. Requirement query system, just like your database SQL. So you want to search for certain requirement, you can go through this. And then traceability report, traceability support system. Okay. Okay, requirement management implies integration. Yeah, usually these are the things are integrated with the tool, project tracking tool, version control tool. So let's say you have like version 1, version 2, version 3. The tool will help you to keep track of every version. You can find out, which source code have been modified from version 1 to version 2. So by using the tool, very easy your job. You can find out like version 1, oh, this requirement doesn't exist. Version 2, oh, got new requirement. You can even find version 1, this requirement have been modified to become like this in version 2. All those things can be identified easily using management tools. Design modeling tool, project estimation tool. Yeah, you can even estimate like cost, estimate everything regarding to the project, and change request control or tool, test management tool. And finally, we are here. What should we look for in a tool? So these are the things we usually will check when we are looking for a requirement management tool. Okay. You can go through. Basically, if you have done your SRS for assignment, you should know what are the things you need for requirement management in a tool. So you can no need to just go through once. You don't even have to remember this. You will write based on your logic. So you see, these are the things. It is actually based on this, and this. Okay. Benefit using tool, requirement management tool. Benefit using requirement management tool, manage versions and changes, store requirement attributes, facilitate impact analysis. Okay, identify missing and extraneous requirement. Missing requirement, if there is any requirement, it's not there, it's not there or not linked, it can even show you. Track requirement status. If the requirement has been changed from the first version until now, you can even check. Control access, who can access this requirement, who can actually make changes to the requirement, all can be controlled by the tool. Just like Oracle, you see, everything can be like you have roles, you have what do you call that, I forgot already, so many things. You have your own area that you can control within your database or data storage. So all those things. Okay, so control access is important. You can create different roles, different what do you call that, privilege. I forgot the word. Diva. So 1, 2 semester I don't teach database. I forget everything. So control access. Okay, like you can create your own privilege. Okay, for example, you create a role. What other things can be done by this role? What are the privileges given to this role? Same thing here. Reuse, communicate with the stakeholder. Yeah, you can even use this tool to communicate with stakeholder and keep track of their communication. Reuse requirement, very easy. If you reusing some of the requirement, it can show you where's the source code, where's the respective test case, where's the respective design, and so on. Track issue status. Yeah, these are the benefit of using RM tool. Okay, we are done with the chapter 7. Basically, what is important in chapter 7? Who can conclude for me before I end the class? What is important? Okay, what is important? Obviously, requirement change is important. Why requirement change is happening? What usually will be done during requirement change? What is the impact of requirement change? These are the important things. Then traceability is important. Traceability, I can ask you, what is the importance of traceability? What happen if we don't manage traceability? What happen if we don't use traceability in our requirement engineering? So you have to know the what importance of traceability. You need to know what are the types of traceability, forward traceability, backward traceability, and so on. And lastly, you need to know a little about the tools and metrics, requirement management tools and requirement management metrics. That's all. Any question? Okay, I marked the attendance, believing that all of you will be attending my revision class. I marked the attendance this morning. I worry later next week I can't access because Bali's release means the requirement attendance cannot be what do you call that, modified. So I just marked the attendance, believing that all of you will come for my revision class next week. If it is online or physical, everything will be notified by next week. I need to see whether the venue is available or not. Otherwise, I'll go for online. One of the day night class. Okay, maybe Monday or Tuesday or Thursday or Friday. I cannot have it on Wednesday because it's a public holiday. So I'm so sorry. I will be going for Monday or Tuesday, Thursday or Friday for online class if it is online. Physical means I will go and check whether the place is available and the time slot available. I will post it in the classroom. I want all the class rep to feedback so that I will confirm the venue. Okay. If I cannot find any venue, because usually, right, usually our many lecturers will be replacing the classes towards the end. Myself, I'll replace what accordingly. But some lecturers, they love to replace at the end. So sometimes venues are not available. So I just double check. If venue available, we'll go for physical class. Otherwise, we go for online. So that will be revision class, revision class for final exam. So please come. Anything else? Any question? You can ask me now. Your coursework, okay, I still have a lot of what do you call that, presentation pending. Most probably I will be completing all this presentation by tomorrow and Friday. So by the time I complete by Friday, I will start marking as fast as possible. So give me time until week 14. So week 14, most probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll release the marks. Okay, and one more reminder, there's no practical class in week 14. There is no practical class in week 14. I will use the slot, okay, to do make good. Some of you I have given extra class, presentation and so on. So week 14, no practical. So no practical class. I will use the slot either to replace your tutorial. I know some of your tutorials still pending. So I'll replace your tutorial during the practical class, or else I will go for make good tests, okay, if there is any make good students. Okay, so your marks, I believe, I hope I can release by next week. Okay, anything else, any question? No question. This is chapter 7, as I said. Chapters 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, important, very important. Okay, you will have a lot of questions, especially the last two questions. You will it will touch on, I mean, the two questions will touch on these three chapters. Okay, first two questions now will be more on chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4, all the diagrams. So the 5, 6, 7 will be more on the last two questions. Okay, I mean, the last two questions will be more on the last three chapters. Okay, so I don't want to delay anymore. That's all for today. Okay, thanks for attending the class. I can't really see the number, but I believe not bad the attendance. Okay, I will mark the attendance later. Okay, for this class. Okay, I'll check the meeting and I'll mark later. Okay, thank you. That's all.